Good morning and welcome to Weekends with Whitney. Coming up in today's show, Louisiana in black and white. Its people, landscape, history, captured and preserved by famed photographer Fonville Winans. We travel to Alexandria to sit down with his son Bob, who was his right-hand man for much of his life. Find out how his famous photographs are still making an imprint today. Plus, another way Sundays just got better. How one mid-city business is bringing together Louisiana favorites, food, music, and art. Then DR.NICK gives us 6 ways to overcome fear, to live bolder in this new year. But first, a look into the life of a real Renaissance man. Fonville Winans wasn't only an amazing photographer. He was a pilot, an inventor, a chef, and even more. No one has ever captured Louisiana's people, spirit, beauty, and soul quite like photographer Theodore Fonville Winans, known to most simply as Fonville. He had that rare ability to capture the essence of anything through his camera lens. His son Bob says his secret was seeing into the soul of everything around him.
One of my dad's favorite statements is that I fall in love, a little bit in love with every girl I photograph. There's something special about every woman, and I find that something special, and a little bit of me falls in love with her when I'm taking her picture.
He was a keen observer, listener, and believer that the lens never lies.
And that's why a lot of his portraits were quite successful. He photographed one man, and he said, something's not real right. He said, what do you dress with normally? He said, well, normally I just wear a khaki shirt and khaki pants. And he says, I'm impressed. He said, do you ever wear suits? He said, oh, I go to church about once every other month or something. I'll wear a suit there. So nobody knew the guy in a suit, and he's getting his picture made in a suit. So Dad said, look, go home. Come back tomorrow with your khaki pants. And he came back in with the khaki pants and stuff, and Dad took a picture, and boom, it was great.
Fonville's work is internationally known, with exhibits over the last 50 years in London, New York, and other major cities.
Dad's work was exhibited in Europe. We had a show in France, and
did you get to go?
I got to go.
Wow.
And it was sponsored by the French Photographic Association, which you know is the oldest photographic association in the world. That's where photography was invented, was in France. And they collected 5 of my dad's pieces for their permanent collection in France.
The largest collection of Fonville's work is here at Hill Memorial Library, part of LSU Library's special collections. It's safeguarded along with other treasures, like this book from the 1700s Napoleon had made. More than 10,000 Fonville negatives are stored here in the stacks. Archivist Mark Martin says it's significant on many levels. One is the visual record of land and space,
which are, I think, very important for seeing where we were and how we've grown.
Another is his political portraits, some posed, but others, like the ones in this archive box of Fonville, an avid cyclist, giving a custom-made bicycle to former Governor Edwin Edwards at the mansion, show a candid, more personal side of politics.
They had one made for Governor Edwards, and they delivered it to him at the new governor's mansion, and sometime in the 70s, judging by the suits. This is part of that thing about the value of the collection, is that it's not just portraiture, it's not just weddings, it's not just celebrities. There's a broader scope to it that makes it, in a lot of ways, I think it makes it more human, you know, more interesting to a wider audience.
Fonville's career started clicking in 1931, the day he bought his very first camera for $30. It was a 3A Kodak. He was living in Texas, 20 years old at the time. He had always had several jobs, but after reading Lafitte the Pirate, he yearned for adventure along the swamps, bayous, and waterways of South Louisiana. So he restored a $25 boat, bought a second-hand, hand-cranked movie camera, brought along 2 friends, and set his sails on making a movie. He hoped to make a fortune, too. He didn't grow rich, but his love for photography grew richer. After living on Grand Isle, he then had the grand idea of going to LSU. While there, he started the first campus newsreel.
He made movies of Huey Long standing on the stump passing out money for people to go to ball games, and the train loading up and pulling out and all that sort of stuff, and showed the films on campus every month. And all those films have been lost.
Oh no. A lost treasure to many.
Wish more had survived because they were intended for a particular time and place and an audience. And that kind of thing really brings in the time. You get to see what people expected as the film portrayed it.
He also took still photos for the campus newspaper. Bob says that developed into a job with big connections.
He had a lot of good breaks. Just before he went into business, he was a state photographer for Governor Lesh.
His portrait work was soon in high demand. It included Governors Huey and Earl K. Long, Jimmy Davis, and Edwin Edwards, just to name a few. The politically connected would quickly be followed by the socially connected. Mardi Gras royalty, publishers, architects, beauty queens, actress Joanne Woodward, and chef Paul Prudhomme. But throughout his studio's 50-year history in downtown Baton Rouge, the call he got most often was to shoot a wedding. Many wouldn't get married without him.
And many of the weddings of that day were based around his schedule. You know, if he had a wedding booked for there, then you don't get married there. You wait and you get married, you know.
He's credited with revolutionizing wedding photography. First, by how he took the pictures, then by how he printed them.
He did a lot of sort of behind the scenes casual shots that identifies him and his style.
You could identify him too in a picture or two.
This is after the wedding, but that's him.
Oh, that's great.
So this is the thing where Fonville is shooting the wedding, but he always has at least one shot where he's in it too. So.
Amazingly, for family and friends, they can order Fonville wedding and portrait photos now. Bob gave LSU the property rights. He kept the copyrights. LSU only charges a nominal fee.
And they can get either a physical print or scan and do with it as they wish.
Are they delighted when you're able to say, yes, we found it, it's usable?
Usually very much so.
This oyster man sitting on a stack of shells is one of Fonville's most famous. He took it the morning after shooting a double wedding in his beloved Grand Isle.
He saw Vizier, the oyster man, sitting outside of his house shucking oysters, you know, at like 6 o'clock in the morning, you know, going to town on these oysters. Quite an iconic thing.
Fonville is an icon himself. Books have been written about him. The New Orleans restaurant Grand Isle is framed around his work. Center stage is another famous photo, his Grand Isle bus.
And there's a double exposure. If you look real close, you can see somebody, the faint image of somebody running in front of the bus.
Fonville was intrigued by more than photography. He was a pilot, musician, artist, gourmet cook, and inventor. He held 4 patents, one for an automatic developing machine.
In my entire life in the darkroom, I never had to develop film. I just put it in his machine.
That's incredible.
We'd go home and come back the next day, and the film was dry and ready to print.
Fonville charged $2 for a wallet-sized print like this. He said it was like having his own mint.
He would tell me, he'd say, "Son, I'm making money here. Think of this as dollar bills."
Printing his own money.
Printing his own money.
Legally, though.
Legally, yes.
Hidden here in the Fonville archives, Mark was shocked to discover something everyone thought was lost forever. His first film, Cruise of the Pintail. LSU, realizing its intrinsic value, paid to restore it. Now Bob is using that, along with Fonville's journals and pictures on that very trip, for a new, bigger project. You can watch a few minutes of it now on YouTube. It melds Fonville's rich talent with the adventurous, full life he lived.
When he was basically on his deathbed and I was visiting him, he says, "I want to tell you, son," he says, "there was nothing in this life that I didn't do. I had a very happy life, and I was able to do everything I wanted."
If you would like to see what work of his is on sale now, go to FonvilleWinans.com. And still to come, music, art, and food come together in a new way inside an old favorite. Then DR.NICK shows us how to stop letting fear stop us from living our best life as Weekends with Whitney continues.
Who says an old dog can't learn new tricks?
Do you want to learn how to inspire?
Learn to fly? Or learn how to drive?
Take a run around this park.
Or this park? Or this park?
And we'll teach you how to dance.
And reach for the sky.
No matter your age, BREC offers classes to keep you moving, learning, and having fun.
Visit BREC.org and see how together we've made BREC better than imagined.
Welcome back to Weekends with Whitney. Sundays just got better in another way. See how a Baton Rouge favorite is fusing food, art, and music. In Mid-City, there's a new way to start your Sunday. It's a jazz, art, and all-you-can-eat brunch at Budros. Owner Jean Budros says the community element was key.
We're proud of what we've done here, and we're proud of our city and the people in it. And so I thought it'd be a great way to showcase the things that people do in a different way. So people can come and relax, enjoy a nice something to eat, something to drink, and then kind of look at something some of the artists might have.
She's brought in painters with a variety of styles, jewelry artists, and last Sunday, cartoon and caricature artist Keith Douglas. You're today's selected artist. How does that feel?
Hey, look, I feel very important. Okay, I'm enjoying every bit of it. I love drawing the people. I love the people coming out to see me eat good food, see the talent here, the musician and all this kind of stuff. Hey, it's great. It's great.
The food's fantastic too.
God, dog. I've eaten stuff I can't even pronounce.
It's new enough that it's still a secret.
Well, it shouldn't be a secret no more, especially on being on your show, okay? Hey, it shouldn't be no secret.
It's the first time Jean's opened her doors to customers like this. Since its inception in 1980, Budros has been an elegant catering facility, hosting weddings and private gatherings. But after August's historic flood, she says it was time to be bold.
The flood happened. We lost a lot revenue because so many events canceled. And we thought, well, maybe this is a good time to go ahead and start branching out a little bit, seeing what we could do. So that kind of pushed us into that decision. And it was a little bit of a scramble to figure out how to do this.
Now they're scrambling eggs every Sunday.
Oh, sunny morning, light the body.
Plates are full of Louisiana favorites. But 90 years ago here, only your gas tank would be.
Actually started out as a gas station in like 1928. And then the old Bob and Jake's, you know, they had their restaurant on that part, and then they added the whole ballroom part in like early 60s.
They added to culinary history too. Bob and Jake's created the famous Sensation salad dressing. Now Sundays are sensational too. They take walk-ins, but to ensure there's a table waiting for you, you may want to call ahead for reservations. And still ahead, Dr.NICK shares important tools on how to stop fear from stopping you, as Weekends with Whitney continues.
Maggio, the only way to go. Maggio Buick GMC, your satisfaction's our specialty. We really deliver on Falls River, here in New Roads. Small town atmosphere, legendary service for over 60 years. Maggio, the only way to go. The only way to go, that's Maggio.
9-time winner of the prestigious Buick GMC Mark of Excellence Award. Fear is a silent killer. It can live in the dark spaces of our soul. And if we don't do anything about it, it can grow more powerful and oftentimes overtake our lives in the decisions that we make. Dr. Nick joins us this morning with 6 ways to overcome fear. It's real.
Fear is real. Fear is real. Fear is probably, and I think we've talked about it before, the most primitive and the most powerful primary emotion that we just fear. We're survival oriented.
So,
the primitive mind. So first
going
of all,
into 2017, let's go
going into it. Let's say that it's real,
okay,
and then let's say, okay, we can still overcome it. We can jump.
Do that.
Well, the first one, Whitney, which is the most obvious, is that whatever it is that we're doing or engaging in or getting ready to approach, we have to love it. There has to be a passion. There has to be a natural kind of bliss, inclination, which is why I always tell parents, watch what your children are naturally inclined to do. Right? If they're inclined towards math or reading or writing or fixing things or taking things apart, we have to love it. We can't be driven by success or the next ring on the ladder.
Right. Like don't go to medical school because you want to be rich, a rich doctor.
Right.
Or don't go to be an attorney to law school because you want to have a lot of money.
Right. Exactly.
Because you'll never be happy.
Is that what I'm hearing? You have to love it. You have to love it. Because when you love it, it really doesn't matter if you fail or you succeed. Because you never fail. You can't fail when it's something that you enjoy. Makes sense?
It makes perfect sense.
I just look at my music. I can't fail at it. I'm having too much fun doing it. Yes. It's just a passion.
And you came out with a CD years ago.
Yeah.
And while it didn't sell a million copies,
no, right. But it was the joy of doing it and involved in the production and the writing and the involvement of the different talents. You're right. That's a good example.
And some people could have been fearful of doing that. Like, I'm not good enough. Are you kidding me? I mean, I know I'm not good enough to make a CD. So fear would keep them from that.
Fear would keep them from it because we're comparing.
Oh, right.
See, instead of loving it, we're thinking about all the other things: success, comparison, what will these people think, or what's going to happen if it doesn't do well, or what am I going to do about the critics that maybe don't like what I'm doing? Or again, I go back to failure. What if I can't do it? And another one is, I think, really, really important, but hard, and that's to live your life. And when I say live your life, I'm talking about what Jung did so well by teaching us individuation. We have to break from our parents and our family. Not break in the sense of we don't love them, but break in the sense that it is my life. You gave me this life. You brought me into the world. As Khalil Gibran says, the parents are the bow.
And
the children are the arrow, and you want them to soar. I love that image. So that, and I'm not saying that children shouldn't be involved with family work. I'm saying that there's an emotional detachment. You may not be happy, Dad. I'm really thrilled with the way the business is operating today. My experience, right?
Right.
And that's how I'm living my life.
Well, another way that you and I were discussing earlier about overcoming fear is to not compare yourself with others.
Compare, which is what we're kind of alluding to a little bit. Not comparing to others and saying, and I think mainly the reason why we want to be careful about comparison is because the struggle is real for everyone.
The struggle is real. Tell them about your mug.
You gave me a mug for Christmas, and I use it now when I'm in therapy, and I'll hold it up sometimes and let the client see it. The struggle is real. It doesn't mean that we need to be depressed. It doesn't mean that we need to look at the darkness. It just means that the struggle is real. And so we have to be very careful with comparing to somebody else because everybody else is suffering. The other thing that we need to make sure that we've got is a plan.
A plan. Strategy.
A strategy. And that because that really, what's the plan? What's going to be the strategy? And then we break it down into specific steps maybe. Okay?
And those steps make it a little more palatable.
Palatable, doable, reachable. But the plan can change as circumstances change, but there's a plan, and that ties in with another kind of concept that goes with it: progress, not perfection. Not necessarily journey versus the goal, but taking the proper steps, apprenticeship, learning it, taking one step at a time, building on what you know and what your expertise is. So, you know,
and realize too, right? It's going to take a while.
It's going to take a while.
It's not going to be overnight.
It's
a long road.
It's going to take a while. But I mean, I would think that, and it's not bragging. I would think that there are some things that you do, that you just do naturally, that people say, "Wow, how much time did you spend planning that?" And you're like, 40 years.
I like that answer. Yeah, right.
40 years. Because they're thinking, wow, or if you say this is what it costs, they're like, wow, well, to me, wow, that's expensive. Well, you know, I've been doing this for 50 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Or 40. So you look at that progress you've made, and then when you're starting something new, you're aware that you're going to have a transition.
Yeah.
And some building of new blocks.
And to overcome fear too, shouldn't we surround ourselves with people who are competent and who maybe know the field, know the industry, and they can kind of mentor us, or we can glean some wisdom?
Absolutely, Whitney. That's where I think the power of network really comes into play. We overuse the word. I think the best network is the network of powerful, expertised people, but also positive people. And I don't mean always up, but people who can encourage, who can help us see maybe what we haven't seen, or help us see the progress we've made when we're thinking of, I've got so far to go.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, we had an intern that last semester, and his dream is, Olive, 22 years old, and his dream is to go live in New York, and he was just paralyzed by the fear of that decision upon graduation. And so he said, can I come talk? And so we sat down for a while, and I said, go. He was like, oh, but New York City's so big. I mean, like, there were a million reasons he wanted to go, but that fear really was paralyzing. He was like, no. And I said, if you don't, you never will.
Yes.
Now's the time. Go and fail. It's okay, because
but he can't fail if he loves it.
That's right.
He can't. Even if he ends up in another city, he will take that passion and that experience with him.
Yes.
May I toot my horn?
Please do.
I was the one that said, I'm going to introduce you to Whitney Van.
You did.
But it's the same thing. It's the network.
You're right.
He reached out and said, I'm interested. I said, I'm going to introduce you to Whitney Van.
He wanted to come see one of our segments.
He wanted to see one of the segments. I said, and he said, oh, no. And he was fearful of that. He was fearful of that. Like, I can't be around her. I mean, how would I say, what would I say? You know, but it's having that little push. That's where mentorship is so important. And the mentoring can happen, you know, on a phone call, in a one visit in a grocery store. Huh? Absolutely. Just to give that little push that people need.
Yeah, just that little push.
Follow it. My niece is on her way to New York, 21.
Is she really?
21.
Oh.
She's leaving next week.
Well, we need to make sure that Daniel and your niece connect in New York.
Absolutely, because they can encourage each other.
Yeah.
They can encourage each other.
That's great. Well, thanks so much.
Good to be with you.
Ways to overcome fear.
Ways to overcome fear.
Make it a better year. A more powerful year for sure.
Yes, indeed.
More Weekends with Whitney after this. Atlas Foundation Repair. Fixing your foundation problems for more than 30 years while preserving and protecting your trees. Thanks for spending part of your day with us here on Weekends with Whitney. We'll be back here again next Sunday, but until then, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also head to my YouTube channel to watch this or more than 100 other shows. That channel is Weekends with Whitney. Or if you need more information, head to my website, weekendswithwhitney.net. I hope you have a great day. This morning, as we leave you, we take flight.
You see me heavy work. You see me do me dirt. There's something about that work.